Hello. So today's video, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a bit odd because I'm holding the mic for one. Two, I'm still very tired from just waking up not long ago, so yeah, fun. Anyways, so I'm going to be talking / reviewing Biomutant, which I just finished not long ago. I feel like I should preface this entire thing with it's not a terrible game. But I do have issues with a lot of it. For example, don't bother with the mounts. You can, if you set it up so where you're putting points into your agility, you will literally never need the mounts again, ever. And it doesn't help that mounts are not that fast to begin with. I don't recommend playing the game with a light or being a very good character. I don't recommend being a good guy. I don't recommend it, not in the slightest. The powers, the most useful one in my opinion is probably levitate. Both for mobility reasons and because it allows you to kind of dodge the ground moves a lot easier when you're floating up in the air. I don't recommend effing with the guns. I don't recommend playing as a commando, which is the first one I played as. Yeah, you could argue that they're kind of useful, but the problem is that it's just, no, it's really not. And it doesn't help that there's no way to scale the damage up more and more. It sucks to say that it really does because it kind of limits the overall usefulness and potential of the guns, especially once you view it from a big picture mentality instead of just a in this moment mentality. The thing is, once you start getting up to like level 5, level 10, start climbing, you kind of realize that going with a gun focused character is the dumbest effing move. Because you can't really scale up the gun damage much other than by upgrades, and that's about it. I don't recommend playing as a character who has a high charisma, like I did. What you quickly realize is that a high charisma build is just not worth it. It really just isn't. You don't benefit much in any way. Persuasion is there, but it's minimal and it's pathetic. It's not that great. I think the best thing about the persuasion stuff is that you could run the risk of maybe having to take a reduction in some kind of stat. Other than that, though, there's nothing. It's not worth it. I can't capitalize or emphasize that hard enough. It's just not worth it. Now don't get me wrong, I wasn't expecting to be able to romance characters or anything like that. I wasn't going in with that kind of expectation, but at the same time, I kind of wish it was more than just throw one of these two arguments on repeat over and over just to get these guys to surrender. I almost wish I wouldn't have made the surrender. I wish I would have just fought him instead. The game spaces out its main missions way too much. For quite a long while, I was covering almost about maybe a couple thousand feet to and from. So by the time everything was all said and done, I was like 5 or even 6,000 feet just to get one quest line done. It sucked. A lot of the main missions to go and get this specific suit, to go and attack the specific world eater, to go and wreck shop on them. Most of that was just a fetch quest. A lot of what you were doing was fetch quests. A lot of them. Some of them were kind of vaguely interesting, like you would go and you'd find this thing and you beat it down and then you take whatever you need from it. Those are kind of cool because it leads to a pretty cool fight, which I think is probably this game's biggest strengths, is the combat a bit. Granted, not its ranged combat, but its actual melee combat, I feel like, is where its strengths are. Now, with all that being said, though, oh my god, does locking on suck? I I don't know what is the core problem of that one. It feels like there might be multiple core problems with it. But I found it far easier and far more beneficial for me to never lock on to a single opponent. I actually had a lot easier time with that, especially since at the time I was playing a ranged character, and I still was having an issue with the lock on. So, bosses are probably especially the main big bosses. Those ones are really fun. Fighting the wildlife can be kind of fun-ish, depending on where you're at, or if you're fighting small fries, or if you're fighting more medium-sized monsters. Uh, Working alongside the factions isn't that great. I kind of wish I could skip it, but it doesn't really let you. You have to work with the factions to an extent, which blows massively. Maybe there's some secret thing the game's not telling me that allows me to skip it. I don't know. I doubt it though, based off of the way the sentence is formatted, based off of the pacing of the game, based off of what it kind of says at the opening. I'm kind of led to the assumption you have to work with the factions, which kind of sucks. Uh, I don't hate the flashbacks. The moments where you see what you did as a little kid. I don't mind that. I don't feel like it's taken advantage of in the right ways. I feel like it's kind of there and kind of needs more fleshing out than what it actually does. There are moments where you're reliving the. There's this one segment specifically that does really well and probably does the best out of all the flashback segments of the entire game. And that's right when you're reliving your past of what led you to not only become an outcast, but also what led to you having a scar on your eye and wearing an eye patch. You kind of learn about your back, where your home was. You learn a little bit about your family. You learn about what you'd done right before things went and popped off. I'm not going to tell you what popped off, how, or why, because spoilers, obviously. But it's just kind of, it's the best segment, and it's probably the only segment off the top of my head where they actually took the flashback and made it something really cool, make it something workable, make it something interesting, make it something worthwhile. It does have an issue because eventually you'll find a weapon that involves your past. And the problem is, though, by the time you finally get that weapon, it's too little, it's too late, it doesn't do even a tenth of the damage of whatever you're doing, guaranteed. It's just way, way too weak to actually be like, oh, nice, I needed this. No, no. Every single part of it really isn't even worth using. It's not even worth breaking it down truly because you're not gonna get any part of it that's actually stronger or as strong as what you have. What you have is going to be leaps, bounds, miles, shy haloot. It's going to be so much stronger. There is no perfect word to describe the gap between what you're going to have to how bad that other thing will be compared to it. It's just, no. Just stick with what you got. It's going to be F tons better, guaranteed. I kind of wish that the crafting system was tweaked a little bit. I like the idea of adding stuff on and deciding what kind of grip you want, what kind of weapon, base blade, stuff like that. I like that. My only issue is that it kind of sucks to have this one piece that you really like, but there's no point in effing keeping it. For example, loved the katana setup I had done, and it kind of sucked having to just basically sell it off or dismantle it for more parts because there's no point in me using it. There isn't. It doesn't give me anywhere near enough stats to keep it, and there's no way to enhance that stats without going to this stupid little thing. There is an armor and weapons bench. There is. It's just It's in the most inconvenient effing place one could have ever asked. Ever. And it makes no sense for it to be there. Instead of having an armor weapon upgrade bench, on the ground floor where you're gonna be. No, 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 no. They decided to shove that thing up in the air, floating in the air. So if you don't notice the rope, or you don't notice the weird aft boat that's just sitting around in the sky, you're gonna literally miss the armor work. You're gonna miss the benches that you kind of need to upgrade. Now, they cost resources to do it, but it's the most inconvenient and dumb thing you could have done. Why the F is it up there? Especially since it's not like something where it looks like it could be something simple, like it's. No, no. It's literally up in the middle of the air randomly inside of the village. And to add on to it, it's so random and so up in the air. I swear to cow, I thought it was just a glitch. You heard me right. I thought it was just a glitch. That's why I didn't F with it, because I thought it was a glitch. Which is a dumb problem to have. I wish they would have put it on the ground somewhere. Anywhere on the ground. Now, key, or basically the equivalency of spells, they're okay. I wouldn't say they're groundbreaking, technically, for some of them. Some of them are kind of cool and very utility focused, like, for example, Levitate, which allows you to hover for a while as long as your key lasts. So that this way you can kind of shoot from the air or even dodge ground-based moves, which is kind of nice. There's stuff like the one I used often, which was Blaze, which allowed me to basically create a flame streak while dodging, which was kind of nice. Granted, I feel like Blaze really wasn't as good as I would have liked. I feel like probably something like Freeze or Fireball would have been a better choice. Probably would have been more helpful, been a bit more useful, done more damage. There is some strange things that I'm like, I don't entirely understand. For example, Levitate doesn't work on water. It only works on ground for some reason. And it will kind of slow your descent as you're falling, but it's just not by much of any. It's kind of weird that way. This one's gonna hurt me a bit. Unlocking the the weapon techniques is a bit of a mixed bag. For some stupid reason that makes no sense to me, there are there are gun-based weapons where you have to dodge, do a melee hit, and then start to shoot. My problem with this is that you're typically not going to do that. You're typically going to use one or the other. You're typically going to not be mixing these things up much. And it brings up that talking about Super Wong Fu. Now here's the thing. Super Wong Fu, I haven't really gotten to F with. Because a large chunk of my playstyle involves not being stupid. I try to be smart for once. I try to do a good. Turns out Super Wong Fu is something that I don't really care to know how to do. If you're someone who does actively or even religiously make sure they do that, I'm happy for you. I'm not really going to F with them. I don't really see a need to F with them. I don't really feel like Fing with them. If you've figured them out and you like use them, I'm happy for you, dog. I'm happy for you. I'm just not going to. It's just, I'll look into what it actually does sometime, but it's just, I just don't feel like I really need to. I don't feel like I need it. I feel like I'm already kind of stomping the game a little too easily half the time. Now, granted, The first time I played the game on like normal or something like that. Now I have the game on the hardest setting, hoping that maybe that fixes it. And to an extent, it's helping a little bit. Oh, although I don't know quite yet how much it's helping yet. Hopefully good. Oh boy, I'm. This part hurts. This part hurts too. Shotguns are a bit of a mixed bag. If you have the shotgun, allows you to basically fire in full auto. That's really useful. That's really, really useful. The piercing shotgun is eh. It doesn't seem to be bad, but it doesn't seem to be that great either. And this is the one that kills my soul. Burns it, hacks it, slashes it, and minces it nice and fine. Ultimate weapons. There are segments of the game where you're rewarded with what's supposed to be the ultimate weapon. More than half the time, I can literally count only one time have I ever gotten a weapon that was supposed to be an ultimate weapon that was worthy of being called an ultimate weapon. Only one. And I had already grabbed a total of 10. Why is 9 of those 10 freaking supposedly ultimate weapons? Why did they suck dick? Why? Who thought it was a good idea to make them absolute trash 9 times out of 10? Now we have to talk about voicing. Now, here's the thing. In this game, even if you try to market the other way, even if you try to set up the other way, here are the facts. You are only going to be hearing 3 characters talk. Out of the entire game, it doesn't matter what other character you pick at random. I don't give an F. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You only hear 3 characters talk, ever. You hear the light conscience, the dark conscience, and the narrator. Here's the thing. The first 2, the consciences, your duality, those 2 talking is actually interesting. It's actually worth an F. It's actually likable. It's actually somewhat actually entertaining at times. It actually made me laugh and smirk a couple times. The narrator makes me want to sleep. The narrator is dead, hollow, boring. I'm sorry, dude. Get an energy drink. Oh my god. It was terrible. And what's more is, doesn't matter which faction you pick. It doesn't matter if we talk about bosses. It doesn't matter if we talk in side characters. It does not matter. None of that matters. They will never say a word. You will hear the narrator speak for them, and that is all. That is all you will hear through the entire effing game. Look, I've literally lost count of how many times the dude has almost put me to friggin' sleep. I find it far more entertaining, far more fun, far more intriguing to shut him the hell up and listen to Spotify instead. I'd rather listen to music as I play this game, because if I have to listen to the narrator, I'll never get anything done. I'll take a nap right in the middle of the game. That is bad. You gotta remember is this also, the game has quite a large amount of nothing between main missions. Now granted, there are tons of side quests to help mitigate this issue, but far too many of these side quests actually take you farther away from other objectives, therefore causing a new issue. If I went with only being 1,000 feet away from my main objective to now I am 1,200 away from my objective, all because I did an extra side quest. Now there are some cool side quests like finding old world exercises like, curls, running on a treadmill, stuff like that. Those things are kind of neat and kind of are more fun, and they also give you a stat benefit, which is kind of neat. Now we have other issues though we have to talk about. For example, character creator. Oh my god dang. Holy crap. The character creator sucks. Oh my god. You want to make your character look however you want? Go F yourself. Oh, you wanted to make your character look cool? Go F yourself. You want your character to actually look like a decent character? Go F yourself. Here's how the character creator is actually formatted. Pick a stat. There you go. The way you get to make your character look face-wise is entirely decided on how you have your stats distributed. Do you have 100 in vitality? Do you have 100 in agility? Do you have 50-50 in a couple stats? That's how it's decided. That's how your character is going to look through the rest of the game. It's because of how that part went down. Now, yeah, you can choose your fur coloring. You don't get to choose the length of the fur or how the fur affects your game because the fur looks really fuzzy, blurred. It also clips the clothing, but details schmetails. When it comes down to it, I would have liked to have been able to make my character look how I wanted the character to look. You know, I don't even care if it's like formatted in like freaking Elder Scrolls or something like that, where you pick something along a slider or some crap. I would have liked to have had more control over the way my character's face looks. I would have liked if my character looked a little less fugly, because no matter what I do, the character looks kind of fugly. There's no way to stop, change, fix, alter any of that. Now, to be fair, originally what I was kind of hoping for this game is I could make my character look like, if I wanted to, like a teddy bear. I wanted to make my character look like a teddy bear. Because imagine how embarrassing that is. You go up through this giant behemoth monstrosity, and you're a tiny little teddy bear, and you smack him, and you pummel him to dust. Hell, if we could have added more comedy, we could label that Death by Bear Hug. That'd be hilarious. But instead, you're kind of stuck between these couple looks, and each one of them are horrible to look at. None of them look good to begin with. They all look fugly with a capital F. And then they get worse depending on which, for some of them, it depends on the stat. For some of them, they just start ugly and get uglier no matter what. There's really no way to fix it because there's no slider to adjust the facial structure or how your character looks. None of that. It's completely out of your hands. The only thing you'll ever actually get to customize that involves your character's look is armor. That's it. Armor, weapons, that's legitimately it. And that kind of just friggin' sucks. It really does suck having what should be your character looking the way you want, but instead it's looking like crap and completely opposite of how you want it to look, all because F you. It completely blows, and it doesn't help that even when you go through the game and you're buffing up your stats by leveling, by doing these extra missions, none of them allow you to fix your character's look. None of them. And it's kind of trash the way that's formatted. I hate the fact that I have a silent protagonist who doesn't even 1% look the way I would like him to look. Not even a tiny bit does he look the way I would want him to look. Not at all. And there's nothing I can do about it. And that really is the worst part about it, I think, is that it's not bad enough that you only have 3 voice acting at all, and it doesn't help that one of them is boring as all hell and is probably the most used for everything. Oh my god, it sucks. And then on top of all of that, as if none of it's enough, my character doesn't look the way I want him to look in any way, shape, or form. And now you have to add in the fact that there's tons of nothing as I run around trying to get these missions done. And then there's the ending. I'm sorry, this is huge spoiler. All right, what I'm about to say is a huge, huge spoiler. All right, very huge. So, but let me just get the number out for you in case you're someone who needs to bow out before you hear this bit. And let me just give you the number right now. All right, my score for this game, for me personally, sound effects were kind of neat. None of them mattered because I was playing the game on with no volume more than half the time with Spotify going. So I can't give it points for that kind of crap. I can't. Then you have to add in the fact that guns are pointless. That's the way I played it first. So that definitely does hurt my overall view of it. That does kind of lower it a little bit. But granted, not enough to a point where I'm going to dock a point from it. But definitely enough to a point where it has to be brought up. And then you have also the issues I've been having where it's just horrible feeling. And then my characters, and then the narration, and then and the fact that there's no real way to remove the gibberish without removing everything. There's just I wish they wouldn't have used gibberish and BS like that for all conversations that didn't involve the narrator or your two consciences. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. You're an idiot. You are. You actually really hurt this game more than anything. Because now, if we had minimized the narrator so this way he wasn't doing every single conversation 24/7, the game actually probably would have been in a better state with me because the narrator was already boring. It was not interesting. It sounded pretty lifeless the entire time. It just wasn't a pleasant experience. Half of it. Then there's the ending. For me, this game winds up being a 7 out of 10. Now, I did warn you. I'll warn you one last time. I'm about to talk about the ending that I experienced with the Max Light. I'm going to talk about it. Alright? Now, it is spoiler. Pretty heavily spoiler. So, bow out now while you have the chance. I think that's enough time. Okay, when it comes down to it, at the ending with Max Light, it basically runs as we've killed off all the world eaters. Myriad now, is trying to unify and keep everyone, peaceful and all that crap. And in the meantime, me and the people I chose fly off into space. We fly off into space to see if there's a better world for us to live in. Roll credits. Okay then. Basically, if we dumb it down, what it does is it seems to try to sequel bait for Biomutant 2 really hard and heavy. And here's the thing. I don't think I want to play a Biomutant 2. I'm not sure I want to. I'm not really sure how I feel, in fact. I'm kind of left wanting more. I'm kind of left wanting something stronger. Especially for how long this game took. I kind of would have liked something a bit more, I guess, wow. Or, I guess, less decisions that make no sense. I could talk about mounts, but I think I'll just do that in a separate mount-based video. I think I'll just do that in an actual discussion video. Right now, all I can tell you about mounts is that they're not really worth it. Once you have a high agility, the mounts are worthless. You'll get around quicker just on foot. Then there is a perk that jacks up their speed, but only by 5%. So basically, once you hit about 120 total agility, you're basically moving arguably faster, if not the same rate. Not to mention the fact that if you also throw on the fact that that's at 100 something, once you get up to the 200s, you're just gonna outrace everything. So no point. I think in order for me to actually want or be willing to play a Biomutant 2, well, first off, character career has to be an F ton better. It can't have this whole I have all my stuff taken out of my hands. My character doesn't get to look the way I want them to look, which friggin' sucked. Uh, Making it so that this way crafting is a little bit more fleshed out. Uh, do not hide workbenches in the air for another one. Like, that negatively impacted a huge chunk of my freaking initial playthrough because I didn't upgrade anything ever until I found out about it. Too little, too late. The game was over. It just sucked. Bosses were fine. I not exactly a big fan of where they rip away your vehicle artificially in one of the games. Yeah, you can regain the vehicle, I think, if you go to a dock station. It's still kind of obnoxious, though. How about less QTE? That'd be great. Yeah, I don't mind minor QTE or QTE for stuff like doing the workouts, stuff like that. But I'm not exactly a big fan of all of these mash the button QTEs, hold button QTEs, and just pick one or the other. Don't do both if you're going to do them. And idealistically, if you're going to do them in combat, make sure it does something really cool instead of either doing bare minimum or just doing whatever kills you. Nah, please don't do it like that. Oh my, this game just kind of hurt. I do kind of wish there was a way to make your weapons look a little less ghetto, a little less, friggin' slapped together a little bit. But I get that that's the style. I mean, it's just, I kind of wish there was a way to not necessarily replace that style, but just kind of like use your own style on top of that. Is kind of what I would like. Another great idea, and this one to me is lovely. Slightly better ending would be great. Something a little less sequel baity. Something a little bit more, I don't know, like we actually are going to go all out and maybe put a nice bow on it. Something a little more conclusive. Because it kind of feels like we basically just did all this and then we kind of just left it to its own devices just so we could go into space. Then that's it. It feels like it's kind of missing stuff. It feels like it doesn't feel concluded. It doesn't feel like the story's done. Much less for this guy. It feels like we just kind of left it off for now. It feels like the exact picture definition of a sequel bait. And that kind of bothers me. I think the fact that it's such an aggressive sequel bait to a point of where it kind of frustrates me a little bit. Because that kind of hurts my overall expectation of what you're going to do next. It gives me the assumption in the next game you're just going to do it again. You're going to sequel bait really hard. It's not going to feel concluded. And we'll just keep this going. And I don't really like that. I would have far preferred an actual solid conclusion. That would have, in fact, even actually helped my excitement and intrigue for a Biomutant 2. Even with these issues. But now you have to throw on the sequel bait, these issues. You have to throw on the fact that there's design decisions that don't make sense or aren't very good. You have to take all those now and throw it on top of an issue of they aggressively sequel baited. I mean, they sequel baited really hard, really heavy. So it kind of makes me think you're going to do exactly that again. And the next game is going to have very little improvement, and then you're going to, on top of that, sequel bait again. You're going to repeat this process over and over. Like, that hurts my overall willingness to buy another game is when you aggressively and kind of excessively sequel bait at the end. What that does is it makes it so that my odds of buying it shrink more. Now you gotta remember, I'm already broke. So I was only able to rent the game. Now my odds of buying And I was willing to buy this game initially based off of what I had heard and saw initially. Not so much now. Now we're in a state of where I am very unlikely to buy a Biomutant 2. I'm willing to rent it again, but I'm very much unlikely to buy it, which hurts because originally, before stuff started popping off and before I realized I was going to need to start saving money, originally I was thinking about maybe pre-ordering this game. I was thinking maybe even collector's edition initially. Now I'm glad I didn't. Now I'm glad I didn't even buy it, period. Now I'm glad I rented it. Yeah, there's replay value a little bit in this game because there's about, if I remember correctly, 5 total endings off the top of my head. I think Faction doesn't really have an impact on it. I don't remember if Faction has an impact or not. But I know for a fact there's at least 5 solid endings. So there's some replay value here, yeah. But when you consider the fact that you have to deal with the narrator who's droning on and can never shut up, and even if you try to shut him up, then the game is just silent. That's just you reading. Yay. Oh boy. It just, like I said, it's a 7 out of 10 game for me. The only way it could have been an 8 or a 9 is if we actually got to choose how the character looks a lot more. That just really bugs me. If we actually got to choose how our character looks, and I don't mean put 100 points into vitality, put 50-50 into vitality. No, I mean actually get to choose the way my character looks so he doesn't look like a fugly mess. I would like to be able to choose my character the way he looks. I want to do so. Like I said, initially I wanted to make my character a little teddy bear. Okay, I wanted him to look like a teddy bear or a panda. Okay, hell, if I could pull it off, I would have made him into a red panda. Because that would have been awesome. Tiny red panda versus giant towering monster. Think of how funny that is when you smack that giant 2-story monster as you're a literally couple foot sized red panda. Whack, whack, whack. I feel like it would be I think it would be a riot, but couldn't do that. Couldn't decide how my character looks. Now, granted, do I kind of wish I could have changed the type? Nah, I don't care about that. What I do care about is that my character, no matter what, is looking like a fugly mess. And I don't exactly like that. I don't like the fact that I can't choose the way my character looks at all. That bugs me. And it doesn't help that there's no way to change the way my character looks as I play the game. Now, yes, the game is called Biomutant, so you'd think you'd be able to change your character's look a little bit. Especially since technically the character waved his hand inside of a weird toxic sludge pond and changed his hand's look. So you'd think it wouldn't be all that ludicrous of an idea. But here we are anyways. My character looks horrible. I can't fix him no matter what I do. And even if I just switch and alter my resistances, that doesn't change his look either. Knocking abilities doesn't change his look. Nothing changes his look after you've made the character. That's how the character is looking. Going to look, stays looking. There is no way around it. Now, whether or not this is supposed to be an attempt at kind of the whole fact that your parent characters can look like you and stuff like that, if that's supposed to be their idea, I don't know why it's so limited to you have to have these characters look this fugly. There is no exception. I don't get that. But it is the way that it is, I guess, which blows. If you're someone out there who gives this game a 9, I'm happy for you that you were able to find something that managed to get you to like the game like that. I just couldn't. I didn't find really much of anything that made me say, hell yeah! No, I didn't get none of that. Which sucks. Like I said, 7 out of 10. If you're someone who gives this game a 10 out of 10, I would love to know what you found that was so effing impressive, because I didn't find jack squat. Ugh. It doesn't help. Like I said, don't play the game Commando. Just don't. It's not worth it. My advice for you is don't F with Charisma. It's not worth it. Key is fun to use. Melee is really good. I recommend having a high agility because mounts are just not worth it. Especially since, like I said, a high agility total makes it so this way you can get to your objectives a lot quicker without wanting to tear your hair out like I did. I wish I would have done an agility focused character. For the love of God, do I wish I did that. My experience probably would have been a lot better. But yeah, yeah, I'm not excited for a Biomutant 2. I'm really just not. Uh, Hopefully you guys laughed at my pain. Maybe found something interesting. Maybe learned something about the game that makes you want to either A, avoid it, or B, like it. Or avoid it or get it. I don't. It's too early. Oh my god, it's still in AMs for me, and I am exhausted. I will see you all next time. See ya.